What if one quiet decision could leave an entire city speechless? What if one actor walked into a flower district before sunrise and quietly purchased every bouquet in sight? What if the reason had nothing to do with fame and everything to do with one unforgettable promise? Stay with this story until the very end, because every chapter reveals a surprise bigger than the last, and the final moment will leave you smiling. If you enjoy emotional celebrity stories like this one, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts after reading. The final filming day had arrived. Months of hard work were finally coming to an end. Cast members laughed together while cameras captured the final behind-the-scenes moments. Crew members hugged each other with tears in their eyes. Directors smiled with relief after completing another unforgettable production. Everyone expected the wrap party to be beautiful. Nobody expected it to become legendary. Long before the sun appeared over the city skyline, Zhang Linghe quietly left his apartment wearing a simple cap and sunglasses. His assistant thought he was heading to an early meeting. Instead, he drove toward the oldest flower market in the city. The streets were still peaceful. Only a handful of flower vendors were preparing their shops for another busy morning. The first florist greeted him politely, without realizing who stood before her. She smiled and asked what kind of bouquet he wanted. Zhang Linghe looked around at the colorful sea of roses, tulips, lilies, peonies, orchids, and countless other flowers. Then he smiled gently. He quietly said he wanted everything. The florist laughed because she believed he was joking. But he repeated himself. Every bouquet, every flower arrangement, every single stem. The florist stood frozen. Within minutes, she realized he was completely serious. Word spread across the flower market faster than anyone imagined. Another florist approached him. Then another. Soon, every flower shop owner gathered around him in complete disbelief. Some wondered if there was a massive wedding taking place. Others guessed a luxury hotel had placed a giant order. Nobody guessed the real reason. Zhang Linghe calmly visited every single flower shop, one after another. He thanked every florist personally. He asked them to prepare their finest arrangements regardless of the price. Some shop owners even offered discounts after recognizing him. He politely declined. He insisted every florist should receive full payment because they had worked hard to grow something beautiful. Several elderly flower sellers became emotional. One grandmother smiled through tears as she handed him her final bouquet. She quietly said that no customer had ever respected their work the way he had that morning. He bowed respectfully before leaving. As trucks began loading thousands of flowers, the flower market looked almost empty for the first time anyone could remember. Meanwhile, Tian Xiwei was finishing her final scenes on set. She had no idea what was happening across the city. She believed the wrap party would be simple. Some cake, some photos, a few speeches, nothing more. Throughout the afternoon, the production crew secretly worked together with Zhang Linghe's assistants. Truck after truck quietly arrived behind the venue. Workers carefully unloaded thousands of fresh flowers. Every hallway slowly transformed into a breathtaking garden. White roses lined the entrance. Soft pink peonies surrounded the stage. Golden tulips reflected the warm lights. Lavender filled the air with a calming fragrance. Elegant orchids decorated every table. Even the ceiling seemed alive with hanging floral arrangements that created the feeling of walking inside a magical dream. When the decorations were finally complete, nobody could believe what they were seeing. Crew members pulled out their phones. Photographers stared in complete silence. Several staff members whispered that they had never witnessed anything so beautiful in their careers.
Still,
Tian Xiwei knew nothing. She finished her final scene. The director smiled proudly. Everyone applauded as the final clapboard closed. Cheers echoed throughout the studio. She bowed to every crew member before slowly walking toward the celebration hall. The doors remained closed. She wondered why everything seemed unusually quiet. The director gently smiled. He nodded toward the entrance.
Take a deep breath.
She slowly opened the doors. For several seconds, she simply stood there. She could not move. The room before her had completely disappeared beneath an ocean of flowers. Every direction she looked revealed another breathtaking arrangement. The fragrance filled the entire hall. Warm golden lights reflected across thousands of colorful petals. The atmosphere felt almost unreal. Her eyes became wide with amazement. She softly whispered, "Is this really for a wrap party?" No one answered. Instead, everyone looked toward the opposite side of the room. Standing quietly beneath an arch of white roses was Zhang Linghe. He held one final bouquet in his hands. Unlike the thousands surrounding them, this bouquet was simple, elegant, peaceful. He slowly walked toward her. Every guest became completely silent. Even photographers lowered their cameras for a moment. He smiled gently before speaking. "Every flower here represents one day we spent creating memories together. Every bouquet represents every person who worked behind the cameras. Every petal represents every smile we shared during filming. Today is not about saying goodbye. Today is about thanking every single person who helped create something beautiful." Tian Xiwei looked around the enormous hall once more. She finally understood. This had never been about impressing anyone. It was about celebrating every hard-working member of the production. Tears quietly formed in many eyes across the room. Crew members hugged each other. Several veteran staff members admitted they had never experienced such a thoughtful surprise during an entire career in entertainment. The director slowly walked forward. He admitted he had almost canceled the decoration because he thought it would be impossible to arrange so many flowers in only a few hours. But Zhang Linghe refused to give up. He personally supervised every delivery. He personally checked every arrangement. He thanked every florist. He thanked every worker carrying flowers. He thanked every cleaner preparing the venue. He thanked every lighting technician making the decorations shine. Not because anyone would notice, but because he believed every person deserved appreciation. As the evening continued, music softly filled the room. Cast members laughed together. Crew members shared unforgettable memories from filming. Photographers captured countless smiles. Nobody wanted the celebration to end. Later that night, one young production assistant quietly asked Zhang Linghe why he had chosen flowers instead of expensive gifts. His answer surprised everyone nearby. "Flowers remind us that beautiful moments never last forever. That is exactly why we must treasure them while they are here." Silence followed. The simple words carried more meaning than anyone expected. Before leaving the venue, Zhang Linghe made one final request. Instead of throwing away the flowers after the celebration, please deliver every bouquet to hospitals, nursing homes, children's centers, and community charities tomorrow morning. Let today's happiness continue reaching people who need it most. The room became completely silent once again. Several volunteers immediately offered to help. The director smiled proudly. The crew applauded louder than they had all evening. The following morning, countless bouquets arrived across the city. Patients smiled. Doctors placed flowers at reception desks. Children laughed while choosing their favorite colors. Elderly residents filled their rooms with fresh blossoms. The celebration continued long after the cameras had stopped rolling. Weeks later, people still spoke about that unforgettable wrap party. Not because it was the most expensive, not because it was the most luxurious, but because one thoughtful gesture transformed an ordinary farewell into a memory that everyone would treasure forever. And somewhere in the city, the flower market slowly returned to normal. The elderly florist who had sold her final bouquet smiled every time customers visited. She quietly remembered the respectful young man who had thanked every seller with genuine kindness. For her, the flowers were never the most unforgettable part. It was the gratitude.
It was the respect.
It was the reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can bloom into memories that last far beyond a single day. And perhaps that was the true reason every flower disappeared that morning. Not to create the most beautiful wrap party anyone had ever seen, but to remind everyone present that appreciation is the rarest gift of all, and when it is shared sincerely, its fragrance remains in people's hearts long after the last flower has faded.